cowboy corner, Trevon Diggs, and his soon-to-be baby mama, Joie Chavis? That's not a real name, right?
It's Joy.
Joy? That's what I thought. Just broke up. She's confirmed it on Instagram to one of her commenters. For those who don't know, Trevon's ex already has a 13-year-old with little Bow Wow, and a 5-year-old with Future. This is a common thing. This is a thing. I don't understand how this is a thing. I feel like you see the pattern. The red flags are right there flashing. Little babies, you know, they want milk and all kinds of toys. And it's right there, right in front of your eyes. You see Future coming around. You see Bow Wow coming around, but you still do it. Mo, when will these guys learn and why? Why does this keep happening? How do they find them all also?
Trolling gentrified right there.
I don't understand the thrill that these guys are getting behind.
Word. Kind of nasty ass thriller they getting. Yeah.
I just grew up with too much pride, too much ego, and I was raised by just different people. And like this is recreation. This is fun. This is fun buns. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. Fun buns. And fun buns. That's all it is, man. It's recreation. And when I sat here and when we had said something last year, he had took it personal. And a lot of guys, and just a lot of young dudes in general. And I go to speak to a lot of colleges, and sometimes when you're trying to educate, enlighten, a lot of these guys take things personal, like you're trying to criticize them. And it's like, no, we're not trying to criticize you, but when you are a phenomenal athlete, multi-million-dollar man, there's a lot of people who have come before you who can say, hey, man, you know, we've been down the road with these type of women or these type of people, and this is how it's played out. And you also have a script of like how things have played out to this point. And then they get to a point where you're not with this girl and you have a baby with this girl, and I hope that the child comes out healthy and everything like that. And then you end up in a situation where you're going back to the tape and saying, man, I could have probably learned something from these dudes or listened to them. Like, she was supposed to be fun, recreation, something to talk about, and you're supposed to speed on. You know what I'm saying?
She's Kentucky or one and done. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Or once in a while.
That's it.
Yeah.
This entertainment. That's it.
You wasn't supposed to go in there and get a souvenir later.
No.
Yeah. That's what he went to an amusement park and came out with a souvenir. That's what you're trying to say.
But it's a pattern.
And I just hope he takes it, like he took it personal last time, but I hope he has enough life experience right now. Like, I know we joke, right? But then I'm telling you, there's people who hit me up and say, yo, I've got like a something wise out of something that I've heard on the show, right? And I hope that he can just have an honest moment with himself and say, man, like, I fucked up. You know, and I've done something with somebody who I probably, if I could think about it again, I probably wouldn't do the same thing again.
Yeah, he came at Cam, you know, like me, I personally, not personally, but you could say personally, have been around her. So I know that she seemed to be a good person.
Oh, yeah. you was out.
Not me. I mean, you saw she was on the boat with Puff, then she was with Trevon, then she was with Bow Wow, Future. So he had enough images for him to know to make a better choice. And I don't want to joke about it, because this is, you know, once you get the baby involved and you start saying it's your blessing. So you take that part of it and take the blessing. So you got to take the lesson as well, and don't put yourself in that position again.
I really do want to know, is it like when you're dating a celebrity as a woman, and then like you go to a party and then you get like a couple of other celebrities' numbers? Like, how do you continue to grow your circle of influence of back burners?
Well, let me give my opinion real quick. Your influence of back burners is crazy. Well, Mace, real quick, because I want to chime in because I didn't get a take on it.
Sorry.
Nah, you're fine. Mace doesn't want to joke about it. I do, nigga. I told you, you didn't want to listen to me. You talk shit about me when I said it, nigga. I told your dumb ass, nigga. I don't care about being your friend. Mo and Mace want to be nice about it. When I told you this shit, you told me I need to shut up. My old ass don't know what I'm talking about, Look at you now. Then you know what's more fucked up, nigga, is that she did it on Instagram. She don't even got the courtesy to keep shit tucked away, keep it low, say we're gonna handle this like adults and co-parent. I told you, nigga, and you tried to play me. Don't get no attitude with me. Now you gotta, look, you was gonna bump into niggas anyway. Now, one thing I will say is, I know Bow, I know Future, like, they ran into a couple females together before. You know, they got the same taste, I guess. You know what I'm saying? And I'm my niggas too, but, you know, I don't think that Bow and Future gonna respect you as a baby father. They probably clown. Look, the nigga Bow Wow called Russell Wilson, Sierra's, I forget what the fuck he said, the way he said it, but he said, Sierra's some shit, basically said, like, I can't remember when when Jermaine Dupri was up here talking about us. Make a long story short, he's disrespectful, says Sierra's like little nigga, some shit like that. They don't give a fuck, my nigga. Look, what's her name, Joy?
Joy.
No, I get that check and give about your business. You don't fuck with none of these niggas. I respect it.
You respect the jokes?
Yo, because at the end of the day, look, I'm not saying she ain't never like none of these niggas, but look, because you know why, Murder? Because I be sitting there thinking about that shit, and I be like, yo, and I'm not talking about presently. I'll meet a female and be like, yo, you know, my kids need a little bit of this, and my kids, you know, camp is coming up, and school is about to happen, and you know, if we could get a little bit of help and they need, you know, they want to go on a trip and this, that, that. You know, I like you. I thought so, you know, I ain't got it like that for you like that. They ain't my kids. But at least she won't have them problems. You ain't going to have to hear that from her.
Yeah.
You ain't going to have to hear if she get in the next relationship that her kids need help doing anything. So I give you that, Joy. And I don't got no problem with what you doing. Niggas pull-out game, they can't get out of there, huh? Shit juicy. They cannot get out of that joint. Pull-out game is weak. So, I'm sorry, Trish, but nigga tried to come for me. Yeah. It's not a sprint, homie. It's a marathon, man. And look where we're at.
That's wild. I have a solution for all young athletes. And I think it would help. It's called thought protection. And so you essentially at 17, 18, we'll call it 18.
One real quick, do you say thought or thought?
Thought.
Okay, I'll just make. So
like the acronym.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, acronym, the thought protection. And you get a vasectomy at 18. But before you do, you donate all your sperm to separate locations around the world, like diversifying your assets. And you don't tell a soul.
What?
You don't tell a soul at all. And then when you're ready to settle down, then you figure out how to make it happen, whether that's reversing it, whether that's doing it artificially. There's all kinds of technology when you have that kind of money. And that saves you. And you don't tell her, and you don't pull out, and you hit her raw, and it's all good. And she thinks she's going to catch you. She thinks she's going to catch you, but guess what? Bitch, you got, because I am snipped up.
Hey, yo, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Two things.
That might be.
No, two things, right? Two things. First thing is, I can't let niggas snip nothing down there and feel too good. I don't know. I know you're supposed to get the same feeling and ain't nothing connected, but I can't risk it. Secondly, I've told bitches that I tried to act like they was pregnant by me, that I had a vasectomy. And I was like, it ain't mine, because I'll have a vasectomy. And they like, oh, word? I say, yo, that's worth the blood. That's worth the blood, y'all. That's worth the blood. When I say blood, my cousin, not a gang. I swear on everything I love. Then you could see on their face like, oh, all right. You ain't got no vasectomy. I go on my phone right now. Paperwork. That's how you know the bitch. They were like, now they gotta reconsider the whole shit.
Think who she been with.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I did last Halloween, y'all? Not last Halloween. Last 2 April Fools ago. 3 April Fools ago. Yeah, I said, yeah. I called a couple of my chicks I was messing with. April Fool. They don't know it's April Fool.
Yeah.
I said, I just left the doctor. Is something you want to talk to me about? They said, what? I said, listen, I'm not going to play with you. I just left the doctor. Is it something you want to talk to me about? And they're like, oh my God, let me go get myself checked out and see what's going on. Bitch, you out here. They ain't even argue back. You know, they're like, well, I don't know what's going on because I ain't been with nobody else. All 3 chicks I checked with was like, let me just go get checked out and see what's going on. Yeah, that's why Trevon, you gotta play these games. When you go into a female house that don't have a son, a brother, a significant other that they usually dealing with, first thing you do if you're gonna spend the night, check for pee stains around the toilet. Niggas should always splashing. That's what I do. If I'm gonna take my socks off in your house, I'm checking if it's pee stains. If pee stains, and I ask you, your brother been here? You got a son? No. You got a boyfriend usually come over? No. They won't stop lying. They always fucking lie. They always lying, bro. And they'll lie and lie and lie till they can't stop. You'll catch them. So I like that, man. I used it without even having to get that. Sorry, I'm just trying to school some of you niggas on the little techniques to keep yourself safe out there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's a lot. Like you have a lot of tactics.
Listen, I've been around a long time, man. Hey, yo, listen, man, I don't always have permission to talk about what me and Mace did, but shit started off early.
What you just heard wasn't simply a discussion about one NFL player or one failed relationship. It was really a breakdown of a cycle that keeps repeating itself in professional sports. The host spent most of the segment explaining why this same story continues to play out generation after generation, even though the warning signs are usually visible long before everything falls apart. And trust me, that's where the conversation takes an interesting turn. It all started with the news that reportedly sparked the debate. Trevon Diggs and Joie Chavis have reportedly ended their relationship, and according to the hosts, she confirmed the split herself in the comments of one of her own Instagram posts. That single detail carries more weight than most people realize. In a time when celebrity breakups are often denied, softened, or hidden behind vague social media captions for weeks, a direct public confirmation stands out. It suggests whatever happened between them reached a point where quietly managing the narrative simply wasn't an option. The hosts noticed that immediately, and it set the tone for everything that followed. From there, the conversation expanded into something much bigger than the breakup itself. They pointed out that Diggs already shares children with 2 other well-known women, one previously linked to Lil Boosie and another connected to Future. Their focus wasn't just celebrity gossip or keeping score of past relationships. They were making a broader point about patterns hiding in plain sight. Their argument was simple. When someone has a well-documented history of dating multiple high-profile figures within the same industry, that history isn't secret information. It's public, searchable, and available before a new relationship even begins. So when another athlete steps into that exact situation and reaches the same ending, the hosts view it less as bad luck and more as ignoring obvious signs that were there from day one. That's the moment where the discussion stops being just about Diggs and turns into a larger conversation about how young, wealthy athletes often approach relationships early in their careers. One of the hosts makes what may be the most important point of the entire discussion. He explains that this isn't really about blaming anyone after the relationship is already over. Instead, it's about understanding why people with incredible wealth, fame, and opportunity continue making relationship mistakes that seem completely avoidable. He says he has personally spoken with college athletes, trying to prepare them for these exact situations before they ever experience them, yet the response rarely changes. Young athletes often hear those conversations as criticism instead of advice. They mistake pattern recognition for personal judgment. In reality, older voices are simply trying to give them a shortcut, helping them avoid lessons that can cost millions of dollars, emotional peace, and years of legal complications. Then, the hosts introduce a blunt metaphor about going to an amusement park and coming home with a souvenir. It gets a laugh, but it also carries a serious message beneath the humor. The souvenir represents a child born from a relationship that was never built with long-term commitment in mind, creating a lifelong responsibility from what may have started as something temporary. The joke lands because it's uncomfortable, and that discomfort is exactly what makes people remember it. You can tell these hosts have watched this cycle unfold over and over again with athletes, friends, and public figures they know, so they package a
reality into a simple image that younger listeners won't easily forget. What comes next is probably the most sincere moment of the entire segment. One host steps away from the jokes and says he genuinely hopes Diggs doesn't take the criticism personally, the way he reportedly did before. He says he hopes enough life experience has been gained to honestly reflect on what happened, learn from it, and treat it as a lesson instead of defending every decision. He even reveals that viewers regularly contact him saying comments made on the show help them rethink major choices in their own lives. That completely changes how you look at the conversation. Underneath the jokes in blunt language is a genuine belief that honest, uncomfortable discussions can serve as informal mentorship for younger people who may never hear this perspective anywhere else. The conversation then shifts again when one host gets called out for previously downplaying the warning signs in this very situation. He immediately pushes back, insisting he saw the breakup coming all along, while criticizing how publicly everything unfolded, and arguing that co-parenting situations should be handled with far more privacy and maturity. Even though the exchange becomes heated, it reinforces the central message the host had been building from the very beginning. These hosts clearly believe that experience gives you something valuable that money can't buy: pattern recognition. From being around fame, athletes, and high-profile relationships for years, they argue that spotting red flags early is a skill. Yet far too many people ignore those signs until the damage is already done. And that's where the conversation becomes much bigger than one breakup. The discussion shifts toward respect, reputation, and how co-parenting situations are viewed once multiple relationships and children become part of the picture. The hosts even question whether the other well-known men connected to this woman's past truly respect Diggs in his role as a co-parent. At first, it sounds like typical locker room banter, but underneath it is a real point about athlete culture. Inside those tight social circles, reputation carries enormous weight, and being viewed as someone who missed obvious warning signs can affect how peers see you long after the relationship ends. To reinforce that idea, they reference a completely different athlete whose public comments about a former partner's family quickly turned ugly after their relationship fell apart. That example isn't random. It highlights how easily private situations can spiral into public disrespect. Then, one host introduces a perspective that completely changes the direction of the discussion. He says he'd rather deal with someone who is upfront about wanting financial support for her children than someone who hides those expectations until emotions boil over later. In his view, blunt honesty is easier to navigate than silent resentment that only surfaces after the relationship has become serious. It's a surprisingly thoughtful point, tucked inside an otherwise humorous conversation, and it reveals that beneath the jokes, there's a genuine philosophy about honesty, money, and relationships involving fame. The energy changes again when one host offers what he jokingly calls future-proofing advice for young athletes. His exaggerated suggestion is to get a vasectomy early while preserving the option of having biological children later by storing sperm beforehand, treating fertility almost like a long-term investment strategy. It's clearly delivered with humor, but it's also meant to underline how seriously some people view the financial and legal consequences of unplanned parenthood. The idea works because it pushes an already intense discussion to an absurd extreme, while still reflecting the fears they've been describing throughout the segment. Another host immediately rejects the suggestion, saying he wouldn't risk any procedure that might even slightly affect physical sensation. That response shows how personal comfort can outweigh
even the most calculated long-term strategy. Instead, he claims he tells women he's dating that he's already had a vasectomy, believing that statement immediately changes how they approach the relationship and creates uncertainty about any future pregnancy claims. Whether that's something he genuinely does or simply an exaggerated podcast story, it fits the same defensive mindset running through the entire discussion. The message stays consistent: protect yourself before problems arise rather than trying to fix them afterward. He follows it up with another story, describing an April Fool's prank where he hinted to several women he had just received concerning news from a doctor. According to him, the vague wording caused immediate panic, leading them to get tested without much hesitation, which he interpreted as a sign they also weren't assuming exclusivity. It's told as a joke, but structurally it serves the same purpose as the earlier vasectomy story. Both examples reflect a worldview where relationships are approached almost like strategic games, with trust being tested instead of freely given. The segment eventually wraps up with what the hosts consider one of the most practical, if controversial, pieces of advice they offer. One host even shares a checklist he claims men should mentally run through the first time they visit someone's home, looking for clues that another partner or significant person may already be involved. He presents it as half comedy and half genuine life advice, arguing that people often continue hiding the truth until undeniable evidence forces them to stop. Another host agrees, saying he had naturally followed similar instincts himself and appreciated finally hearing those thoughts explained out loud. Looking at the discussion as a whole, it becomes clear that this isn't really about attacking one individual's personal choices. Instead, it's a window into how many athletes and entertainers have learned, sometimes through painful personal experiences, and sometimes by watching friends go through them, to approach relationships with humor, caution, and a constant sense of self-protection. The reported Diggs and Joie Chavis breakup simply serves as the doorway into that larger conversation. From there, the hosts expand the discussion into a broader theme about young men suddenly gaining fame and wealth without fully understanding the financial, legal, and emotional responsibilities that can follow once children become involved. Along the way, they describe the jokes, strategies, and coping mechanisms that have developed after seeing similar situations repeat over and over within their own circles. What makes the conversation stand out isn't necessarily the humor, it's the honesty underneath it. The hosts never pretend to have perfect answers or position themselves as moral authorities. Instead, they openly acknowledge their own mistakes, laugh at decisions they made when they were younger, and admit they're now giving advice they once ignored themselves. That self-awareness is what elevates the conversation beyond ordinary celebrity gossip. It becomes a discussion about growth, recognizing patterns, and the difficult gap between knowing the right decision and actually making it. The hosts also touch on why stories like this spread so quickly in today's media landscape. A simple Instagram comment confirming a breakup may seem insignificant, but because it feels spontaneous rather than carefully managed, fans often treat it as more believable than an official public statement. That's exactly why the hosts felt comfortable building an entire conversation around it. In today's social media era, an off-the-cuff reply can sometimes carry more credibility than an unofficial announcement, because audiences have become increasingly skeptical of messages that appear overly scripted or professionally managed.
The hosts understand exactly how today's media works, which is why they wasted no time discussing the story the moment it gained traction. But there's another layer here that makes the conversation even more interesting. Throughout the segment, they consistently position themselves as the older generation trying to pass down lessons learned the hard way to younger athletes now facing the same situations they once experienced or watched unfold around them. That perspective changes the entire tone of the discussion. Instead of sounding like simple criticism, it feels more like frustrated mentorship. When one host talks about speaking directly with college athletes only to be met with resistance, he's describing something that happens constantly throughout professional sports. Veteran players often recognize mistakes before they happen because they've either lived through them themselves or watched teammates pay the price years earlier. Yet those warnings are frequently brushed aside, not because they're inaccurate, but because the younger player hasn't experienced the consequences personally. Until that lesson becomes real, advice often sounds like unnecessary criticism. That's one of the biggest themes running underneath the entire conversation. The financial side of the discussion is also much more important than it first appears. Once athletes begin signing multi-million-dollar contracts early in their careers, every relationship naturally carries different financial realities. That doesn't automatically mean people have bad intentions, but wealth changes incentives in ways that can't simply be ignored. For professional athletes, child support obligations can become substantial because they're often influenced by income levels rather than a simple fixed amount. And that's really the anxiety hiding underneath many of the jokes throughout the segment. When the hosts joke about vasectomies, sperm banking, and elaborate strategies, they're really talking about risk management in an exaggerated, comedic way. It's the same mindset people use when buying insurance or protecting investments, just applied to relationships and family planning. You won't believe it, but beneath the humor is a serious conversation about protecting your future before emotions cloud your judgment. There's also a psychological layer that quietly runs through almost everything the hosts discuss. Nearly every strategy they describe is built around one common idea: not completely trusting what someone says at face value. Instead of relying on direct conversations, they talk about indirect ways of testing situations before fully committing. While they present those tactics as being smart or cautious, they also reflect something much deeper. They reveal how repeated disappointments can slowly erode trust over time. The hosts don't necessarily argue that this is the healthiest way to build lasting relationships. Instead, they present it as survival mode, shaped by years of difficult experiences, in a world where fame, money, and public attention amplify every mistake. That's a very different message than simple paranoia. It's experience talking, whether people agree with it or not. Another interesting part of the discussion is how the hosts balance accountability with genuine concern. On one hand, they're clearly frustrated by athletes who continue repeating the same relationship patterns despite seeing countless examples of how those stories often end. On the other hand, they repeatedly express hope that every child involved in these situations grows up healthy, supported, and cared for. That balance keeps the conversation from becoming nothing more than cheap entertainment. Even while joking and making lighthearted comparisons, they never completely lose sight of the fact that real families and real children are affected. That's an important distinction many viewers might overlook. Underneath the comedy, there's still an awareness that these aren't just headlines, they're people's lives. When you step back and look at the entire segment, it becomes clear that the entertainment is built on very real vulnerability. The jokes, the teasing, and the exaggerated advice all sit on top of genuine concerns about trust, fatherhood, money, reputation, and living under constant public scrutiny. Those are issues these hosts have either experienced personally or watched unfold repeatedly around athletes and entertainers they know. The names in the headlines may change, but the underlying themes remain remarkably consistent. And that's really the biggest takeaway from the entire discussion. Fame and financial success don't automatically create wisdom. In many cases, they actually expose people to bigger decisions long before they're emotionally prepared to handle them. As the hosts repeatedly suggest, the real problem isn't a lack of information. The challenge is whether someone actually applies that knowledge when emotions, attraction, confidence, or ego convince them to ignore the warning signs already sitting right in front of them. That's ultimately why this conversation resonates beyond one celebrity breakup. It isn't simply about what happened between Trevon Diggs and Joie Chavis or what may happen next. Instead, it reflects choices people make every day, regardless of fame or income, about trust, judgment, relationships, and recognizing patterns before it's too late. The hosts never present themselves as perfect role models, speaking from some moral high ground. If anything, they openly admit they've made many of the same mistakes they're warning others about today. And that's exactly what gives their message credibility. Their honesty transforms what could have been another piece of celebrity gossip into a broader conversation about growth, accountability, and learning from experience. Whether new details emerge publicly or parts of the story remain private, the bigger discussion surrounding wealth, relationships, fatherhood, and pattern recognition isn't going anywhere. Those themes will continue resurfacing because they were never really about one couple in the first place. They're about lessons that repeat themselves over and over again.